Hi from Chill Squirrel. My name is Matt, and I'm very, very excited to launch the E-MTB, the Affordable E-MTB project. We've been working for the last few months with Tony. If you don't know who Tony is, it's the story of how I actually got into e-biking, how he rescued me from the mountain, and I'll get into that in a moment. But I just wanted to tell you also this week is the International Forest Week. That's my two friends over here. So every time we roll out an e-bike, either convert it or build an e-bike, we actually uh, plant two trees. And we work with an organization called greenpop.org. You can go and check them out online. It's an NGO, a non-profit organization, and they actually give the GPS certificate with their GPS coordinates, where you can actually go to the nature reserve and you visit and see where the trees are planted. So it's really cool. And then I'll just get into basically we're going to get into the launch in a moment, but I'll just tell you briefly how I got into e-bikes, how I met Tony, if you haven't heard it before. So I was in Taiwan as a student studying Mandarin, riding up the mountain with a bunch of friends. I got totally lost, separated from them. I always struggled with cycling. In fact, I didn't even want to go on the ride because I was a bit overweight and I knew I couldn't keep up with them, and I knew nothing about e-bikes. Anyway, I met Tony on the mountain and found out that he actually had an assembly house where they were producing E-MTBs, shipping them to Finland, Germany, and all that. And he actually rescued me because I didn't have GPS. I was on the mountain. It was like 38 degrees. I was dehydrated and I completely lost my friends. And we exchanged name cards, and then I went to have lunch with him a week later and found out that he has this factory producing the E-MTBs. And when I rode an electric bike, I was blown away. It made it a lot easier for me to ride. I then ended up riding to work every day. I ended up riding on the weekends. I could turn on, turn off. I could ride the e-bike as a normal bike or ride it as an e-bike. And I just felt in control again. And that actually got me back into the world of cycling. So a lot of people think that, E-MTBs or electric bikes are cheating. They're not. They actually get you to ride more. They get you to exercise more, do more cardio. And I was excited to wake up in the morning and say, wow, I'm going to ride today, rather than thinking, I don't want to really go on my bike. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to sweat going to work. So cut the long story short, it actually helped me to lose weight and get a lot fitter. Yeah. So since 2014, we've always been looking for ways to get bums on e-bikes, if I may put it that way. So we've got the e-bike giveaway, where we give away an e-bike for people that will share their experience of what they think about e-bikes and how it will change their life, and that's actually going on at the moment. And so we also find ways of converting more and more bikes to electric. A lot of people have these bikes sitting in the garage, unused, and it's a sustainable model by taking them, converting them, and instead of producing a new e-bike. But a lot of people don't have a bike to convert. And also with what's happening with the exchange rate these days, I started discussing with my team and Tony's team in Taiwan how we can put our heads together, how we can, technology's changing, the world's changing all the time. And as the technology is changing, so is the delivery system and the transport system. So we also work on a DTC model, which is direct to consumer, and it brings down the cost a lot. And the cost can actually go back to you. The savings can go back to the consumer, to people that are looking for an E-MTB but don't want to, break the bank. And so we'll get into the four models that we produced. We tried to cover, people with different needs. Not everybody wants one type of e-bike. It's not sort of one e-bike made for all. So I will start with the first frame that is a hardtail. And the hardtail means there's an air shock just on the front. And in this video, I'm only going to cover the frames, but further down in this brochure, you're going to see some very exciting offers in addition to the actual prices as well that are very exciting. You're also going to see a lot of other little things that are thrown in there, surprises that add huge value to this. So I'll just start with the frames first. We are going to grab the frame over here. This is a hardtail. So hardtail basically is the air shocks in the front. So you get the air shocks over there, and then you get the battery integrated and the motor integrated in there. And what's great about integrating it in South Africa is this is completely closed. A lot of people live near the coast and they want an e-bike that is corrosive free. So with it being completely closed in there, we find that there's a lot less corrosion on the motors and it aesthetically looks a lot more pleasing. So that is the hardtail frame, and you're going to see it as a complete hardtail. It is called Baobab. You'll see it below in a moment. That is the hardtail. Then we'll jump over to also a hardtail, but in South Africa, a lot of people were looking for something where they didn't have to sort of bring their leg over to get on the top tube. You know, the top tube is something that goes, it's the top tube that sits here. And it was quite a struggle for some people to get on or off a bike, but they're looking for an electric mountain bike step through, which is sometimes called inset. And exactly the same concept. You know, you got your motor inside here, you got your battery inside there, but an easy step through. And also the good thing about this type of E-MTB is you're sitting in a upright position. So Springbok, that's named after our famous South African Springbok. You'll see it also below, all the details of it and all the specs. Very excited about this model. And then we'll go over to the fat bike. The fat bike is also a hardtail. So you'll see it's a bit more of a bulky frame, but you'll see a massive fat wheel goes on the back there. And it's quite a chunky one. And you also see how it looks in below in the brochure. Also, the motor goes inside. Yeah, everything's closed, sealed. I'm just leaving this open to show you what it looks like. And the battery also inside the frame. So that is the Kalahari. And if you want to go on sand dunes, jeep tracks, or even if you just want to ride down the road or you want to commute, you can basically do anything. It's an all-terrain E-MTB. With the fatter tires though, it's got higher resistance, so you're going to lose battery power because of the wider tires going on the road. So that is your Kalahari. I'm going to jump over there and I'm going to bring the bike here. It is a full suspension. Our full suspension is with a suspension on the back. So you've got your suspension in the front and you've got suspension in the back. And that's the only difference between this and the Baobab, the hardtail, is that you've got that extra bit of comfort on the back. And normally if you've got any sort of lower back pains or you're a person that really likes a soft landing, that's why it's called the soft tail, you'll find it easier to ride the Marula. The Marula is also named after a tree in South Africa. It's actually named after a fruit that comes from a tree. You've probably all heard of it. And so all the frames are named after something in South Africa: the Kalahari, the Springbok, the Baobab, and the Marula. And you'll see all the specs below. These are there are also other offers on that and details all about the extras that are thrown in. I hope you like this launch. We worked super hard to get it to you, and I'm sure that you'll find a lot of value in it. And love your comments and feedback. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us or pop us an email, and we'll get back to you soon. Thanks a lot, eh? Cheers.